Hello, thoughtful Libra. The energy around August 15, 2026 invites you to notice something that may have been quietly changing for some time. The balance between what you give and what you receive. You may feel more grounded in your own worth now, and that shift can change the way people respond to you, especially someone who has been thinking about where they stand with you. But the deeper story is not simply about who is drawn back into your life. It is about whether the connection can meet you with the same honesty, care, and reciprocity you are beginning to expect. You have spent enough time trying to keep certain situations peaceful, even when maintaining that peace meant carrying more than your share. As you stop overextending yourself, the dynamics around you may become easier to see. Someone who once assumed you would always be available may suddenly become more attentive, curious, or eager to reconnect, but this time you do not have to rush toward their attention. Ask yourself whether you genuinely want the connection or whether you simply miss the familiarity of what it used to be, because there is a difference between chemistry and compatibility. Be mindful of who has access to your energy, Libra, because not every warm interaction is built on equal exchange. If you are in a relationship, you may notice a stronger intensity around communication, attention, or expectations, and while closeness can feel reassuring, it should still leave room for trust and independence. If you are single, you may encounter different kinds of interest. Perhaps one person who offers emotional sincerity and another who creates excitement without showing the same consistency. Rather than choosing based only on how strongly someone makes you feel, notice who is willing to meet you halfway. There are also signs of movement around your practical life, particularly where your abilities, ideas, and sense of value intersect. A new role, a different direction at work, a collaborative opportunity, or a creative possibility may begin to look more appealing, especially if you've been questioning whether your current situation reflects what you are capable of. Financial matters can also begin to feel more manageable when you approach them with clear judgment instead of urgency. The opportunity here is not simply to receive more, but to become more conscious of what is actually worth your time, effort, and resources. The deeper lesson around August 15 is that balance cannot be created by one person constantly adjusting themselves to keep everything peaceful. The past may still carry something worth understanding. The present can reveal what is actually true, and the path ahead may ask you to make choices that honor your own needs as much as everyone else's. Stay close to your intuition, but let your decisions be grounded in what people consistently show you, rather than what you hope they might become. You are learning that protecting your peace does not require closing your heart. Sometimes it simply means refusing to abandon yourself in order to keep someone else comfortable. As you listen to this reading, keep an open mind and leave room for your own experience to speak louder than any prediction. This is a general reflection, so some parts may feel deeply familiar, while others may not connect with your life at all, right now, and that is completely natural. Take what helps you understand yourself more clearly and let the rest remain where it is. Your intuition can be useful here, especially when it is paired with honest observation and the willingness to recognize what feels balanced and what has quietly become one-sided. There is also room in this period for lighter moments. Genuine laughter, and experiences that remind you that life does not have to revolve around solving every unresolved problem. Spend time with people who leave you feeling more like yourself. Accept invitations when they feel nourishing, and give yourself permission to enjoy your own company when you need quiet. A change in your usual routine may create space for a meaningful conversation or an unexpected connection, and someone you encounter or someone you already know more deeply than before could earn your respect through the quality of what they share with you. Through those conversations, you may notice parts of yourself becoming clearer, including desires or values you had not fully recognized before. This can become an important learning experience, particularly around responsibility. You can support someone without carrying their entire burden, offer advice without becoming responsible for their decisions, and care deeply without promising to solve what belongs to them. Each person has to stand behind the commitments they make, and learning that distinction can protect your relationships from resentment while giving everyone more room to grow. If new information enters your routine and changes your mood, allow yourself to feel it without letting one moment define everything that follows. Enjoy good news with gratitude and perspective, and when something disappointing arrives, give yourself enough space to respond thoughtfully rather than allowing bitterness to take root. August 15 carries a gentler kind of happiness for you, Libra, the kind that comes when your inner world finally has room to breathe. After making difficult choices and finding the courage to stop carrying what was never yours alone, you may begin to feel a clearer sense of yourself returning. Your energy becomes warmer and more settled, creating room for meaningful connections and opportunities, while old patterns gradually lose their hold. What is changing now is not simply what surrounds you, but the way you decide what deserves your attention, your affection, and your effort. The Lovers brings the theme of choice into sharp focus, especially around relationships and the values you refuse to compromise anymore. For Libra, this card can speak to the difference between being deeply drawn towards someone and knowing whether that connection can actually sustain mutual care. Someone who once kept their feelings guarded may become more open. But the important question is not whether attraction exists, it is whether both people are willing to participate honestly. You are being invited to hold vulnerability and independence together, allowing intimacy to grow without giving away your sense of self, simply to preserve harmony. Death points toward a quieter transformation taking place within a relationship or within your understanding of love itself. An old expectation may be losing its power. Perhaps the belief that you have to remain agreeable, patient, or endlessly understanding in order to keep someone close. What is changing does not have to represent loss. It can be the clearing away of a pattern that kept genuine connection from having enough room to breathe. As that old pattern loosens, you become more capable of recognizing relationships where affection is accompanied by honesty, accountability, and a willingness to meet each other halfway. The King of Wands brings a different kind of confidence into your story. It speaks to the part of you that knows how to take initiative without needing everyone around you to approve of the direction you choose. You have been learning through experience, and that inner development can now influence the way you approach creative work, professional decisions, and the people you allow into your plans. Rather than proving your worth through constant effort, you can begin acting from the quiet understanding that your time and abilities already have value. Supportive people may become easier to recognize when you stop confusing attention with genuine encouragement. The Ace of Pentacles then brings the conversation down to earth, reminding you that meaningful opportunity needs something solid beneath it. A new project, professional opening, financial conversation, agreement, or practical possibility may deserve your consideration, particularly when it reflects skills and values you have been developing. But Libra, discernment matters here. Not every attractive offer is equally worthwhile, and something that looks polished on the surface may still ask too much from you in return. Before committing your money, time, or energy, pause long enough to ask whether the exchange is genuinely fair and whether the opportunity reflects what you believe you are worth. Judgment brings the deeper thread back into focus through recognition and renewal. Rather than waiting for some outside force to tell you that you are finally ready, you may find yourself looking at your past with greater honesty and understanding why certain experiences had to teach you what they did. A former connection may become easier to understand, or a new relationship may reflect qualities you once struggled to believe you could ask for. What once felt confusing can become clearer when you stop measuring your progress by what other people choose and begin measuring it by how faithfully your choices reflect who you are becoming. This renewal also touches the practical parts of your life. Your health may benefit from small changes that bring your body out of constant tension, especially giving yourself enough sleep and creating a quieter space before rest. You do not need to solve every emotional or professional question while lying awake at night, and stepping away from screens and stimulation can give your mind the stillness it needs. Rest is not an interruption to your progress, Libra. It is part of how you regain the perspective necessary to make thoughtful decisions. At work, remember that productivity is only one part of a well-lived life. If you've been using an exhausting schedule to avoid feelings, uncertainty, or questions you have not wanted to face, creating more space may actually help you perform with greater clarity. A professional problem that has been occupying too much of your attention may need distance before you can see its next practical step. Give yourself permission to return to activities that restore your sense of pleasure and identity outside of work, because your life cannot be measured only by what you manage to accomplish. Financially, this is less about a sudden windfall and more about learning how to recognize movement when it appears and respond with good judgment. A delayed conversation, pending agreement, payment, or professional opportunity may become easier to address when you approach it with patience rather than urgency. Your ability to communicate, collaborate, negotiate, and notice subtle differences can help you identify possibilities that genuinely deserve attention, especially where creativity or people skills are involved. At the same time, remain careful with anything that seems too attractive simply because you want it to work. Some opportunities may carry conditions that become clearer only when you slow down and read between the lines. The more confidence you develop around money and work, the more you may notice that prosperity begins to mean something different to you. It is not only about having more, it is also about creating a life where your resources, relationships, energy, and choices are treated with respect. The small decisions you make with intention can gradually build something much more stable than a brief rush of excitement. For you, Libra, the deeper shift is learning that true balance is not about keeping every side happy at all times. It is about building a life in which what you give and what you receive can finally exist in the same conversation. Stay grounded, Libra, even when several possibilities begin opening around you at once. Excitement can be a beautiful indication that something matters to you, but it becomes far more useful when you give yourself enough room to step back and understand what is actually being placed in front of you. Not every attractive opportunity deserves an immediate yes, and not every promising financial possibility carries the value it seems to carry at first glance. Avoid rushing into a decision simply because the moment feels exciting, and be especially mindful of expectations built around everything unfolding exactly as you imagined. When enthusiasm is balanced with practical judgment, you protect yourself from temporary excitement while creating a much steadier foundation for whatever develops next. There is something important for you to remember here. Discernment does not mean becoming suspicious of everything. It means allowing yourself to appreciate an opportunity without needing to possess it immediately, and allowing a possibility to reveal its true shape before you decide whether it belongs in your life. Libra, you are naturally capable of seeing several sides of a situation, but sometimes that same awareness can make it difficult to know when enough information is enough. Give yourself permission to choose from clarity rather than pressure, because a decision made calmly often carries more strength than one made simply because you were afraid of missing your moment. In matters of the heart, your intuition can be remarkably perceptive, but your imagination can be just as persuasive. You may notice a change in someone's tone, a longer pause in a conversation, a different expression on their face, or a subtle shift in how they reach out to you, and your mind may quickly begin filling the spaces between what they have actually shown you and what you hope or fear might be true. Give yourself permission to pause there, because not every feeling is evidence, and not every emotional impression tells the whole story. Sometimes intuition becomes clearer when you stop asking what something must mean and simply observe what continues to happen. For you, authenticity means allowing reality to become visible without forcing an interpretation simply because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. If you're beginning a relationship, take the time to let the other person understand who you are, beneath a version of yourself that naturally tries to keep things pleasant. You may have a deeply affectionate and attentive side, alongside a more private part of you, that needs time before it feels completely safe, and explaining that difference can prevent unnecessary confusion. You do not have to reveal everything at once, nor do you have to make yourself easier to understand by hiding the parts of you that need patience, space, or reassurance. A healthy connection can make room for both your warmth and your boundaries without treating either one as a problem. The right person will not simply admire how easy you are to be around, they will also respect the places where you need honesty, time, and emotional room. There is also a lighter quality available to you, Libra, and you do not need to turn every moment into a lesson or every feeling into a problem that needs solving. Let yourself enjoy ordinary happiness without immediately analyzing where it is going or what it means for the future. Laugh with someone you love. Spend an unplanned afternoon doing something enjoyable. Listen to music that changes your mood, or simply allow yourself to feel good without questioning whether you have somehow earned that feeling. If you are partnered, your relationship can benefit from this lighter energy as well, especially when neither of you feels pressured to make every conversation serious or resolve every uncertainty immediately. Sometimes closeness grows through ease, shared humor, small private jokes, and the quiet relief of realizing that you can simply enjoy one another's presence. And if there has been tension between you and someone you love, remember that not every form of healing requires a profound conversation. Sometimes, a softer moment creates the opening that a difficult discussion could not create on its own. A shared meal, a walk, an unexpected laugh, or simply sitting together without trying to fix anything can remind both people that a relationship contains more than its problems. This does not mean avoiding important conversations. It means remembering that emotional safety can make those conversations easier when the time comes. If you are single, small changes in the way you present yourself can refresh far more than your appearance. You might change your hairstyle, choose something different to wear, update an accessory, rearrange a familiar corner of your home, or introduce a color into your surroundings that feels more like the person you are becoming. These choices do not need to impress anyone or make you more desirable in someone else's eyes. They can simply remind you that you are allowed to evolve and that you do not have to remain visually or emotionally attached to an older version of yourself just because it once felt familiar. There is no single definition of beauty, attractiveness, or the kind of person you are supposed to become. What feels right to you may change as your priorities change, and that is part of becoming more honest with yourself. When your outer choices begin reflecting your inner freedom, you may also become more comfortable recognizing the kind of connection that genuinely suits you. You are less likely to chase approval when you are no longer asking other people to confirm that your choices are valid. And from that place, attraction becomes less about being chosen and more about recognizing whether the person in front of you can appreciate who you actually are. Family relationships can also move toward a warmer and more honest place as you continue changing the way you relate to yourself. Your growth may quietly influence old family patterns, especially those involving emotional expression, avoidance, or the habit of keeping difficult conversations beneath the surface, because everyone is afraid of disturbing the peace. You may begin noticing how often you have stepped into the role of the one who smooths things over, translates one person's feelings for another, or absorbs tension simply because you can understand where everyone is coming from. Your ability to see different perspectives is valuable, but it does not mean you are responsible for carrying every emotion that enters the room. You can offer vulnerability without becoming responsible for everyone's feelings, and you can remain loving without automatically becoming the mediator whenever tension appears. Sometimes your growth may be visible precisely because you respond differently than you once did. Instead of immediately explaining yourself, you may pause. Instead of fixing a disagreement, you may allow the people involved to speak for themselves. As those boundaries become clearer, conversations may feel more authentic, and some old wounds may finally have enough room to be understood rather than repeatedly carried forward. Healing within a family does not always mean everyone agrees. Sometimes it means everyone is finally allowed to be honest. The balance between independence and connection matters here. As you pursue your own goals, remember that the people closest to you still need simple signs that they matter, and those gestures do not have to be dramatic to be meaningful. A thoughtful message, a patient conversation, a shared meal, checking in when someone has had a difficult day, or a sincere expression of appreciation can strengthen a bond in ways that grand promises cannot. At the same time, nurturing your relationships does not mean putting your own life on hold whenever someone needs reassurance. Love becomes healthier when care can move in both directions instead of flowing endlessly from one person to everyone else. Your energy also benefits from genuine rest and leisure, without the guilt that can sometimes accompany doing something simply because it feels good. Give your mind permission to step away from unfinished questions and let your body experience moments when it does not have to be productive, useful, available, or responsible for something. Open a window and let fresh air move through the room. Listen to music. Take a quiet walk. Spend time making something beautiful. Cook slowly. Read somewhere peaceful, or simply sit still long enough for your thoughts to settle. Rest is not a failure to move forward. Sometimes it is the space where the noise becomes quieter and you finally hear what your own mind has been trying to tell you beneath everything you have been managing for everyone else. One encouraging theme around August 15 is the possibility of encountering people who introduce you to a different way of seeing your life. That influence could touch your professional world, your relationships, your finances, or simply the way you understand yourself. And it does not have to arrive dramatically to matter. A conversation may leave you considering an idea you had never seriously entertained, or someone may show you that there is another way to approach a situation you thought you already understood. Perhaps you meet someone whose perspective challenges an assumption you have carried for years, or perhaps an ordinary exchange gives you language for something you have felt but never quite known how to express. Stay curious, but let yourself discover rather than immediately deciding what every new person or possibility is supposed to mean. There is a caution here as well, particularly around obligations. Be careful about taking on too many responsibilities simply because you are capable of handling them, especially in professional environments where being dependable can slowly turn into being overextended. There is a subtle difference between being generous with your energy and constantly making yourself available because you are uncomfortable watching something remain unresolved. A healthy team is built on people taking responsibility for what belongs to them, not on one person quietly absorbing every unfinished task because they can see how to fix it. You can offer guidance, make a thoughtful suggestion, share your experience, or help someone find their footing without becoming the person who must make every decision for them. Support becomes unhealthy when it creates dependence, and dependence eventually creates resentment in both directions. If you continually rescue someone from the consequences of their choices, they may never develop confidence in their own judgment, while you may slowly begin feeling burdened by a responsibility you never consciously agreed to carry. Libra, part of restoring balance is knowing where your responsibility ends. This distinction matters in every part of your life. There is a difference between helping someone think clearly and teaching them to rely on you for every answer, just as there is a difference between maintaining peace and becoming responsible for keeping everyone comfortable. Your ability to understand different perspectives is one of your strengths, but you do not have to stand permanently in the middle of every conflict simply because you can see why both sides feel the way they do. Sometimes the most mature form of harmony is allowing each person to experience the natural weight of their own choices. Peace becomes more authentic when it is not created by one person continually sacrificing their own position so everyone else can remain comfortable. If you are studying, try not to let anxiety about what lies ahead consume the energy you need for the work directly in front of you. Organize your notes. Return to material you have already covered. Identify the areas that genuinely need more attention, and trust that reviewing what you know can be just as useful as constantly searching for something new to learn. You do not need to carry the entire outcome in your mind while you are still doing the work. When your mind starts jumping toward every possible result, gently bring it back to the page, the question, the chapter, or the next task that is actually within your control. Give your attention to the next meaningful step and allow steady preparation to build confidence naturally, rather than demanding certainty from yourself before you have finished the process. When it comes to compatibility, the strongest connections for you are less about a particular sign and more about the qualities someone brings into the relationship. You are likely to feel most at ease with people who communicate clearly, respect your independence, appreciate humor, and understand that closeness should not require either person to disappear into the other. You may feel grounded around someone whose presence is steady and reliable, mentally stimulated by someone who can meet you in thoughtful conversation, or refreshed by someone more energetic and spontaneous, who reminds you that connection can also be playful. Different people can bring different gifts into your life, but none of those qualities matter much if the relationship repeatedly leaves you questioning your worth or carrying more emotional responsibility than the other person. What matters most is whether the connection allows both people to remain fully themselves while still choosing to meet each other halfway. Look for the quiet signs of reciprocity. They listen as well as speak, They make room for your needs as naturally as you make room for theirs. They respect a boundary without turning it into rejection, and they show consistency rather than relying entirely on charm. Chemistry can create a spark, but compatibility is revealed through what happens after the spark becomes familiar. For you, Libra, that distinction may become increasingly important as you learn to value relationships not only for how beautiful they feel at their best, but for how balanced they remain when real life becomes complicated. And that is an important thread to carry with you, Libra. You do not have to choose between love and boundaries, between ambition and rest, or between being generous and protecting your own energy. You can care deeply without carrying everything, remain open without abandoning your discernment, and create harmony without making yourself smaller to preserve it. The more honestly you understand your needs, your limits, and the values you are no longer willing to compromise, the easier it becomes to recognize relationships, opportunities, and commitments that can exist in genuine balance with them. Let your choices come from clarity rather than pressure, and allow your life to become a place where peace is not something you create by giving away your part of the balance, but something that grows because what surrounds you is finally learning to meet you there.